It's time to think about holiday card making at Catherine Pooler Designs, and they have some bundles that are just perfect for that. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video I'll be sharing the Greenery bundle, which has some great stamps and dies. There's also some sequins that I'll be sharing today, as well as a foil plate and a background die. So let's flip through the new supplies that I'll be working with today. First up, I have the Greenery of the Season stamp set. This is a 6x8 stamp set, and it is a layering stamp set with just 2 or 3 steps of layering. So you can color in the berries and the holly, green and then red, but like the pine cone is just one color. So you get the outline and then the solid image stamp that you can color in. There's also a die set available that will cut out the majority of those images, and you can get a Flurries hot foil plate, which would be a great background, and we'll use it in one of the cards today. This is the Christmas Glory cover plate die. It's also a great background, and I'll share a couple of cards with that too. And then there is the sequins mix that goes along with the Season of Greenery bundle. So I first want to share how the Snow Flurries hot foil plate looks. Once your platform is warmed up, place the hot foil plate right on the platform base and press your timer. I like to tape down my foil to my cardstock. You're going to have the silver side facing your cardstock and the colorful side facing you. And then I'll trim it down so that I can see exactly where I'm placing it and try and place it right in the middle of my A2 white cardstock here. I'm using Hammermill cardstock. It's nice and smooth. It's great for foiling. So once it's all warmed up, I'll run it through my die cut machine, bring it back, and then I usually let it cool before I peel and reveal how gorgeous these Snow Flurries look. I love them in rainbow. I love them in gold. They look like snow and silver, and this is the traditional gold. So the other gold is a gold glitter. So I like to do all my foiling at once. This way I can then use those for any cards. I also like to do my background dies all at once. So I have that beautiful Christmas Glory background cover plate die, and I'll cut it out of an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock that I cut in half so that it will cut the rectangle and it will cut out the design. If you already have an A2 piece of cardstock, you can just place it inside the cut lines of that die. And I like to run it back and forth so that most of those little teeny tiny pieces will fall out. The great thing is you get to really see the background color. So whether you use colorful cardstock or white cardstock, whether you cut colorful cardstock or cut metallic cardstock, they are just beautiful color combinations, and you can see all the detail there. Now let's use those supplies to make some cards. For this first card, I grabbed a bunch of the stamps, the outline stamps from the Greenery of the Season stamp set, and I'll be stamping these in non-traditional colors. So I have It's a Girl for the poinsettia, and then I have Minted for the outline of the green, and then I have Wintergreen to fill in the holly. So these are going to be, like I mentioned, non-traditional colors, and I will cut them all out with the coordinating dies. Just hold them in place with a little tape and then cut them out. I did want another piece of greenery, another flower or two, and I wanted that sentiment. Now for the sentiment, instead of stamping it in black, I stamped it in slate because these lighter colors, I didn't want the black to be too much of a contrast. Now I'll take one of those cover plate dies. I cut this one out of gold mirror cardstock from Spellbinders, put a little tape runner behind it, just avoiding the little open spaces, and placed it on some pink cardstock that goes really nicely with the pink ink. So I'll just create a little bit of a cluster of goodies in the center of that card, and then trim down the Merry Christmas to be a sentiment strip, and I'll place that flush to the right just on some tape runner on this cover plate that I've cut out of that gold mirror cardstock. So this is a very, very simple card. I did want to add some of the sequins, but I didn't want to add those darker colors, so I'm just grabbing out of the sequin mix the very lightest green and placing those on there because I felt like the dark green and the red would just be a little too bright for the nice pastels that I have created in the background there. But you do get that nice shine and glimmer from those sequins. For this card, I'm going back to traditional colors. So I have Midnight to stamp the outlines. And this is a great black because you can color it in with alcohol markers or you can fill it in with inks if you're using layering stamps. So I have several poinsettias this time I stamped in Rockin red. And then for the center, I'm using Goldenrod. And then I'll use the die to cut out each of those flowers. Now I have the sentiment that I'm using again, the Merry Christmas. This time I will stamp it in Midnight. And then I have Spruce. It's a really deep Christmassy green that I thought would be great for a traditional green and red card. And I'll stamp several of those greeneries and also stamp one of the greeneries that has little berries on it. So there are actually 3 layers to that one. There's the outline, then the stem, and then the little berries. I'll cut that Merry Christmas into a sentiment strip and I'll use the dies to cut out the rest of the images. So I have several of those pine boughs and then a couple of poinsettias. This time I've cut that Christmas Glory cover plate die out of white cardstock, and I'll be placing this one on the gold mirror cardstock. And I placed the sentiment this time right in the center of the card, and then I'll make sort of a symmetrical design where I have the poinsettia at the top and the bottom. I have a pine bough pointed to the right from the top of the sentiment and then pointed down to the left on the bottom of the sentiment. And then I'll mix up that symmetry a little bit with an extra pine bough and then one of those stems with the berries on it. And I decided to use the tiniest red sequins to add to those berries and then just a few of the dark green sequins to add to the pine boughs. And I love the gold peeking through those flowers. For this next card, I wanted to create a shaker, so I grabbed one of the rectangles from the Dots and Scallops die set and cut it out in the center of an A2 piece of white cardstock. Then I grabbed one of the backgrounds that I created with the Snow Flurries hot foil plate and doubled up some thin foam tape and placed it all around the edge with every corner touching, and then poured the sequins right over the foiling in the background. Then I adhered a piece of acetate to the back of that frame that I created, and I placed that right on top of the exposed adhesive of the foam tape. That will trap the sequins inside and create the shaker window with the shaker goodies inside it. I love how the foiling looks behind those sequins. Next, I'll take some of the images from the Greenery of the Season stamp set. This time I'm stamping the outline in a brown ink. It's gingerbread, and I'll use some of the traditional colors again. I used spruce, but I also used a little bit of grass skirt, some black for the sentiment, which I actually messed up the first time, so I'm just stamping another one on another frame that I cut out, and I'll just place it right on top. So don't throw out a shaker card. That they can always be fixed. And then I'll take some of those images and I'll place them in the corners of the shaker window so you still see all of the shaker goodies inside, but there's a little bit of decoration to those corners. And I love that even if the sequins all fall to the bottom, there's still those golden snow flurries in the background. I love these new Catherine Fuller Designs items for the holidays, and I especially love being able to create different color combinations with their filled in solid stamps and their inks. But I'd love to hear if you had a favorite today. Let me know in the comments below. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. It's time to stink. It's time to stink.